Okay, so evening everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm just going to bring my oh, I think we're live. Yep, you should be able to hear me, so that's good. Okay. Good. Excellent. So give me a shout if you can hear me. And we'll get started. So tonight we're going to be looking at drawing the hi Judy, that's nice that you're here. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be looking at doing the eye area. Now usually I would draw a usually I would draw the eyes first, but because we were kind of concentrating on the curly fur and everything, we did the curly fur first. So, you know, that's why I've kind of left the eyes until now, really. Yeah, so we're going to make a start on this. Now, these eyes are a bit tricky in that this eye here is really dark. So I'm going to start on this one tonight because that's just a big black blob, and what I've actually done is I've taken my photograph on my iPad and I've lightened it up a little bit so I can actually see some of the information in the eye, but what I want to do first of all is just kind of have a look at the shape really. What I've started to do with images like this where there is quite a lot of where the tones are quite similar, so around the eye area and the actual eye, when I come to kind of quickly do an outline for something like this, for a tutorial or something, I usually project the photo, but even using my projector, which is it's a really good projector, but even using that, it can be still quite dark. So when you come to do the eye area, it can look really, well, you miss half of the information. So what I've started to do is I've started to create an outline in Photoshop rather than in the, I've got an app that I use as well, it's called Colorscape. But one of my amazing patrons, and forgive me, I cannot remember her name, but she created a PDF cheat sheet to create an outline in Photoshop, and it's really good. And basically you go through sort of like a few different steps, and there's all sorts of things that you have to do that you wouldn't kind of be able to do just by making it up, and you come out with a really great outline. So I've started to do that, and it's pretty good actually. So that's what I've been doing. Do you know what? I've just told my son that I'm doing a live draw, and I think he's got his music on really loud now. Little rat bag. Yeah, so this one was just taken from sort of like a normal photo. So this is what I have to do. Even though I've kind of traced an outline, I've still then got to actually physically make sure that the proportions and everything are correct and everything's in the correct place. And I think this is one of the things that people get a little bit confused about when they hear that somebody's tracing something, or tracing an outline. You know, it's almost like they think that you get this perfect outline that you can then work from, and then everything that you put inside the outline is going to be absolutely perfect and spot on, and it doesn't work like that. You know, you can see here my outlines are always pretty naff, to be honest, but even if you have the best outline in the whole world, you still then got to kind of really work with your reference photo. If you're anything like me, I find it really hard to decipher which line is which, and I'll very often go off on a tangent and kind of use one line for something else, and then kind of realize a little bit further on down the line. So it's really important, even if you have traced an outline, that you follow your reference photo and you make sure that everything is, you know, everything's in the right place basically. So creating an outline is certainly not in any shape or form cheating, and you know, yeah, it gives you an outline to kind of work with, but you've still got to kind of you know, work with your reference photo and kind of put things in, you know, that didn't necessarily come through in the outline. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. We've got no questions as yet. Hi everybody, lovely to have you joining me. So I hope you've all had a good day. I've had quite a busy day actually today. I've done about an hour's worth of drawing in about sort of 15-minute stints. And I've just been I don't know what I've done. Do you know, I can't even remember what I've done today. Well, I took the dog to have her hair done. That's the only thing I can remember doing. So Nellie had her hair done yesterday, and I took Nellie through to the vets this morning. That's what I did. So Nellie went through to the vets at 8 o'clock this morning to have her second X-ray, anyway, she came back half an hour later because she didn't need one, so that's good. So her toe is pretty much mended. They can't feel any movement, which is amazing, and she can now start to go out for walks, which is a blessing because it's the size of a house basically. She's gigantic and full of beans. So bless her. So she's home and hasn't had to have an X-ray, which is really good, and she can start going out for walks, which I'm thrilled about. So yeah, and then Slipper's been and had a haircut, so a hair wash and blow dry, so she's looking very smart, and Vinny loves clean smelling girls. It's been going mad. The PDF that Photoshop, it's really good, isn't it, Alexandra? And I can't remember who created it. It was so good. Yeah, I need to kind of reshare that because it is really, really good. Carol, I'll reshare it because it's definitely one to use. And what it does is the app that I use is great. I'm just going to pick up. I've got the Polychromos. I was using the Polychromos black there. I've got the Polychromos warm grey 5 here. The colorscape is good, but what it does is it outlines the outline, if you see what I mean. So if you've got hair, it kind of puts the outline around it. It makes everything a little bit thicker, whereas with the Photoshop one, you actually get a true representation of the outline of whatever it is that you're trying to create. It's a really, really good process. So I'll reshare it because it's definitely worth having a look at. Oh, Sherry, yes, she's absolutely fine. She's allowed to go for 3 10-minute walks a day. So she's had 2 10-minute walks today. And I have to say she's got to the point now, because she's not been out for a walk for 6 weeks. And she's got to the point now where I say walk is, and she just sits there, and knows she's not going out. So she was really surprised. She was like, "What, me? I'm coming with you." And I took her and Vinny when Slipper was at the groomers, and I mean they just love each other anyway, so that was quite nice. Just took them up the lane quickly, but yeah, she was very giddy, bless her. But she's full of it at the minute. She was groomed yesterday, and she's so fluffy and she's just adorable, bless her. Oh, thanks, Anna. I can send you to sleep. Well, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Drawing on film. Yes, this is film. Okay, so if you haven't joined me on the previous weeks, this is the Grafix Drafting film that I'm working on at the minute. It's double-sided matte, so it's got like if you look at it with the light shining on it, it's got like a matte surface. It's not got a shiny surface. If you get film and it's got a shiny surface, it's the wrong one and you are going to struggle. It's as simple as that. The Grafix Drafting film, you can get quite a lot of layers on it, to be honest. It's a lovely surface to draw on. It's very smooth. There's no tooth as such, so it's very different to drawing on paper. But it makes a nice change, I have to say, and you can create some incredible things. Dog sitting 2 Labradors. Oh, that sounds nice, Claire. Yeah, it really is, Alexandra. It is really good. Do mine walk well off the lead? No. Well, actually, they're not too bad. But where I live on estate land, so there's an awful lot of pheasants and partridge around. So we're not allowed to have them off the lead, and there's a lot of livestock as well. So I don't have them off the lead. Plus, I've got the motorway sort of probably about 2 miles away, a mile away. And Vinny can run like the clappers, so you know, if he kind of senses it, and we've got a lot of hares around us as well. So what I do is we go to the dog park instead, and we go to the dog park 2 or 3 times a week, and they can have sort of like half an hour of literally just running. There's 2 acres and loads of stuff that they can jump on and off. So that's what we do, rather than have them off the lead. They walk very well on the lead. I have to say, they don't pull or anything. They're very well behaved. Well, apart from Nellie, she just flies around. She's like having a helium balloon on the end of a lead. Just floats about, a little cloud on her own. Yeah, it's nice that she can go for walks now. Now I've lost my eraser. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. I've piled all of my pencils up that I've been using, so I can use the ones that I'm... let's take out a little bit of light in here. This is the Tombow eraser that I'm using here. This is the one that I use mostly on film, and it is a really super little eraser. If you haven't got one, I use this on hot press paper, and I use it on film. Don't really use it on pastel matte. It doesn't really work that well on pastel matte, but on hot press and film, it's a really good little eraser. Can't see everybody else's comments at the moment. I didn't know what was happening. Oh, Caroline, they're all there. I wonder if you haven't got the live chat up. Don't wear a collar or harness when we leave. I put them on and leisure, so when we get home we call that naked baby time. Naked baby time. Bless them. Right, so I've kind of got a little bit going on around the outside of the eye. If you've ever seen me doing eyes before, you'll know that I always do the outside of the eyes first rather than the inside. And the reason that I do that is because just doing the inside bit I think looks weird. It's just my opinion. I know others do the inside first, but I like to do the outside first so that I can get the form of the eye. If I leave it and walk away, I can come back and it doesn't look weird. With my drawings, I have to kind of make everything look relatively pleasing, otherwise my brain just kind of switches off and says no, looks weird. So that's the reason why I do the outside first, to get the form and structure of the eye, the shape and the size, because there's nothing worse than spending hours and hours creating a beautiful inside of the eye and then going, oh God, I've got it the wrong size. That's a really rubbish thing to happen. Yeah, so that's why I kind of do the outsidey bit first. And I'll do sort of quite a bit on the eyelids and kind of around it. Maybe if I'm doing a horse eye, I put some colour and stuff around it. You know, create the eyelids and stuff like that. And you know, and then once I've got that, I've got a good structure to then work the inside of the eye into. So I'm just using the black again here. Really light pressure I'm using. You don't want to be using heavy pressure on the film too early, unless you've got a really dark area, and we will have a dark area in the eye here in a second. You know, and then you probably will need to use sort of like quite hard pressure quite early on, because if you just layer and layer and layer and layer and layer beautifully and softly and really gently, you're just going to have sort of like a very gentle faded eye, whereas you actually want a really good dark deep eye. You know, so but you kind of want, what I try to do is I try to get everything plotted in so that I know where I'm going in with harder pressure, you know, so that then if I make a mistake, I've done it on the light layer and then I can go in harder over the top. So this is the warm grey 5 again. And then just bring a little bit into there. So I've got some really crazy things going on at the minute. I've got a new website that's being built at the moment, but it's very different to the website that I've had previously, because I'm trying to streamline my business a little bit more and make things work a little bit harder for me. So I work really hard, but I'm very chaotic. So I'm just trying to kind of streamline a few different things in my business. So one of the things is my website. So that's something that I'm kind of sort of working with at the minute, and trying to get that sorted, which I think once it's done it's going to be really good actually. The dog we lost last year when she stayed at the kennels, they used to say it was like walking a firework. Oh no, Carol. Just purchased Esther's heated board. Can I use it for the film on the back? If you use film, Alexandra, use the Dur-a-lar. The Dur-a-lar on the it's heat resistant, whereas the Grafix and the Polydraw aren't heat resistant. The Dur-a-lar is heat resistant, and it's I'm just going to find a cold grey. Got cold grey 2 here. Just sharpen it up. I have to say I've got my electric pencil sharpener. I don't think now I've gone electric, I don't think I'll be going back to crank. It's amazing. I just sit here and I'm like, oh, just sharpen my pencil. It's just there and it just sharpens it. I feel very professional with it. What was I saying? Oh yes, the Dur-a-lar, the Grafix Dur-a-lar is heat resistant, and that will work really well with the Icarus board. The Grafix film, I used that actually. I did use it on the Icarus board, but what happens is it warps. You get a bit of a warp, which does then flatten out once it kind of cools down. But the Dur-a-lar doesn't. It doesn't have a warp in it at all because it's heat resistant. So I would suggest using the Dur-a-lar with on the Icarus board. It works really, really well. And then of course, now who was it? I think it was Tina Varani has been using the new Lightfast paper on the Icarus board, and she has been raving about that. So so that's good. Oh, that's okay, Eski. Yeah, we'll see you soon. Christopher, the one that I'm using at the minute is the Swordfish multipoint. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 6 different widthed holes in it, and it's an electric one. And it's actually really. I didn't think it worked, to be honest. When I first started using it, I was like, oh, this is rubbish, and just put it to one side. And then when I started working with the hot press papers a little bit more, I was like, oh, I really could do with having something that I'm not having to kind of use the crank pencil sharpener all of the time. So I tried it again, and I just wasn't pushing hard enough. So you've got to push it quite hard down into the hole, and it's really good actually. Touch wood. Oh, I haven't got any wood here. I haven't had any breakages either. You know, so that's good, and it just saves an awful lot of time. And of course, with me being so lazy, it's brilliant for me. Just sit here at my desk. You know, whereas before I'd have to kind of, if I was working on hot press paper, I'd like spend half an hour sharpening all my pencils, and that's really boring. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a swordfish. It's a swordfishdeborah. So I use the swordfish curve as well, which is a great little crank sharpener. But this one is the multi-point, and it's electric, so it's plugged in. It's quite big, I have to say. It's sort of like that sort of size. You can't see that. It's big. It's probably about 6 inches. 6 inches by 4 inches, something like that. Maybe 7 by 5. It is quite big. Oh, I am holding a wooden pencil. That's so funny. Yeah, you're right. That's so. Oh God, honestly, such an idiot. Yeah, so that's all right then, because I was touching wood anyway. Right, so I'm just going to put a little bit more black in here, and then we're going to start on with the middle of the eye. Now, it's not the most interesting eye because there's not an awful lot of colour in there. There's some blue in there. But the thing about this eye is that we need to kind of capture all of the light in it. And we've got light down at this bottom bit here. We've got sort of like a little bit of a white of the eye around here. And then you've got the catch light up here as well. So we need to kind of capture the shapes of the catch lights. That's going to be the most important thing with this eye. I'm just wondering if I just take out these bits in here. I much prefer to work with things where there aren't any lines and then just freehand it in. Right, so what we need to do now is I'm going to use the, where is it? It's really sharp. Okay, so this is the dark sepia that I'm going to use, the Polychromos dark sepia that I'm going to use to begin with. And I'm going to work on the inside bit of the eye, and we'll probably end up flipping it and going in on the back as well. So to begin with, I'm just going to, what we have to remember is that with the film, there's no sort of going in with light over the top. Of course we can erase it, but there's no going in with the sort of like a warm grey or something like that over the top like you could with pastel matte, and like you kind of can on a hot press paper. You know, once you've got your darks in, that's it, it's pretty much in. So it's all about planning really, especially with an eye like this. It's all about the planning, and what we're going to be doing is we're just going to kind of be drawing in the little shapes, and it's going to look a little bit weird to begin with. You don't, I mean, you don't have to get it absolutely spot on, but we've got like a bit of a funny thing going there. Okay, comes down that way. I probably got it a little bit wrong. This is probably a little bit not particularly the right sizes, but it'd be fine. And then that goes out to there. And I think I probably need to let's come in down here. So I need to get this. I don't think I had the eyeball out quite far enough. Okay, so we need to come down that way there. And then you can see the eyelashes that go sort of like right across it. I'm not going to do anything with those at the minute. I'm not going to kind of draw them in and then have to go round them. I'm going to whisk them out at the end, just kind of whisk the hairs in at the end with the slice tool. So we've got, yeah, so actually what we've got is we've got actually a bit of light coming around the edge and into the bottom of the eye here. And this is what I mean about, you know, even though we've got a traced outline, it isn't correct. You've got to kind of, you know, freehand stuff. Right, let's just come in here and around at the bottom bit there, and then I've just got to be careful. I've got a really bad habit of just going over what I've just erased and putting it straight back in again. So I'm just going to kind of pull in a little bit like that. Now I'm seeing a little bit of pink down here, which I might well bring in once we start to bring a little bit more detail in. So I'm going to kind of have this light area coming in here at the bottom of the eye. And then what am I going to do? So we've got all of this up here, which is that bluey colour. Let's just take out a little bit of that in there. And that's what's brilliant about the film. You can just erase stuff. It's great. And then we've got a tiny little sort of bit of a catch light in here as well, which I need to kind of put in because otherwise, once we start to bring in the dark colour, you know, if we don't put that in, we're going to miss that. And then what else? There's actually quite, because I've got mine lightened up, there's actually sort of like quite a bit of light down here as well. But we can kind of bring that in a little bit and make that just slightly less dark than the rest of it. Right, okay, so let's then start to think about getting a little bit of dark in there, and I think we're going to go, I'm going to go in with a layer of the dark indigo. catchlights, can you talk about the light source and where it's coming from? This is an area that confuses me when I want to draw from highlights. Okay, so when you're looking at a piece, you're looking at the photograph. So if we look at the photograph of the alpaca, what you'll see is that this side of the head is lighter than this side. So this eye is actually in shadow. So the light is coming from here. It's coming from the right, probably the right and slightly back a little bit. This eye here is completely in shadow. And you've got some quite strong shadow in here as well. And obviously got shadows in the ears. This eye here is kind of picking up on all of the light that's going on over that way to the right. This eye here doesn't really have any, let's have a look in there. It doesn't really have any catch lights. It's got a very, very light catch light here and here. And the trick with something like this, or actually what you'll want to do when you start drawing this is you'll go, oh, I really need to put some more information in this eye. I really need to add like a bright catch light in it. I need to put some more colours in because, you know, nobody wants to look at an eye that's really dark. But if you change the lighting of this eye and you put in some catch lights that are really quite bright, but you don't change the rest of the face, so you still keep this shadow here quite dark, you still keep this shadow here quite dark, under the eye quite dark. When you look at it, when the viewer looks at it, it's not going to look correct. It's going to look far more correct if you keep it the actual tone that it is. So with a tiny weeny, very, very dark catch light, it's going to look much more realistic because it fits in with all of the rest of the shadow. And this is something that you've got to be really careful of as well if you're drawing sort of like pet portraits and stuff like that, and you get you regularly get those photos that are just snapshots, or they're not very good, or they're not very clear. What then happens is you try and make the eyes clear, and the one thing that people say is, oh, you need to put catch light in there because you need to put the light source in, blah blah blah. That's fine, but if you change the light source in the eye but you don't change it anywhere else, it's going to look strange. So it's always about, if you're going to change a light source anyway, you have to think about the repercussions and what the knock-on effect is on the rest of the piece. So it's just a question of looking at your piece and going, where's the light area and where's the dark area? Okay, so the sun is coming from there, because anything that's kind of in the way of whatever. So this, when you look at this alpaca, his little nose here is going to be in the way of this eye, and that's why there's a shadow cast on there, and why there isn't any catch light on there, because it's on, the light's coming from this way. That was probably a little bit garbled, but I hope that helps. Make me laugh when you say you're lazy. Oh, bless you, Deborah. Oh, honestly, I'm. My children will tell you I'm the laziest person. Although saying that, I cleaned my kitchen on Tuesday. And it's not that I don't have a clean kitchen, but where you kind of, when you've got a family and people just kind of dump stuff, so you'll clean the house and then you'll dump something somewhere, you just put like a pile of books or a pile of washing or whatever, and then everybody kind of sees that as like, oh yeah, that's where you can leave everything. And my kitchen had become this sort of dumping ground everywhere. So I pulled everything out and cleaned all of the windowsills and wore myself out, I have to say. But I was quite proud of myself, I have to say, because I did quite a good job. Because I'm not really one for doing a very good job when it comes to cleaning. I don't pull stuff out and I just kind of clean round. If the dog's on the floor, I'll just hoover around the dog. I won't even get it to move. So, but I am a particularly lazy person. Honestly, I really am, and I think that's why I tend to keep going, because if I stop, that's it. I've stopped for the full day. I just can't be bothered to get up. So I just have to keep going. So I'm using the dark indigo here, just as a very light initial layer on this eye, just to give it a little bit more depth, I guess. So I'm just coming in there. This white bit here isn't going to stay this white, and neither are these bits here. So I'm just going to sort of gently bring this in. The other thing to do with drafting film is it's really, really hard to get a smooth texture. And what you've got to try and do is you've got to try and do very, very, very gentle strokes, because if you try and then sort of merge everything, like if you were using hot press paper, you'd then kind of go over this with like a luminance white or something and, you know, burnish it all in and it'll all blend and look lovely. It doesn't work that way with the film. The luminance is pretty good and it will sort of blend it a little bit, but not much. So you're best off trying to get a really, really lovely smooth texture straight away. Right, okay, so that's our first layer. I ordered some graphite pencils and they arrived today along with the free money. Ooh, that sounds good, Carol. That's okay, Fabry. It's all right. We're only nearly half an hour in. It's fine. You've got ages yet. So yeah, right. Okay, so that's my son banging on the window, and I'm doing a live draw. So yeah. So now I'm going to be going with the black. So he's now outside the window going, oh, are you doing a live draw? He's banging on the window, silly boy. So now I've got the black Polychromos. And I'm going to now come in, and I'm going to come in with quite a lot of pressure because I want this to be quite dark. I'm going to sharpen it up again. And I'm going to be very brave and sort of use quite a lot of pressure to get a very, very dark black in here. I need to go a little bit harder actually. Now I can go in on the back, and I probably will go on the back. And I'm just going to be very, very careful, but I'm using a medium, let's say medium to hard pressure. Because I don't want to mess about. I don't want to faff about going, oh, I need to do lots of light layers. You know, I'm just going to go, no, it's black. I'm going to whack it in. I'm just going to get that black in. And once you get going, because the first a couple of strokes are going to be, oh no, this feels awful. But actually, you've just got to go for it. So I'm going for it now. You just have to go for it, because otherwise you can go on forever. Well, you couldn't go on forever with the drafting film, because you know you'd end up running out of layers. But you know, if it's dark, it's dark. Just get it whacked in. You know, don't mess about. Okay, so I'm going to go really dark here as well. I'm actually really going quite hard in there. I mustn't forget, I've gone over the top of that. Look, honestly, that's what I tell you about being an idiot. And I do it every time. I kind of go, yes, we'll leave that little bit there, and then that's probably why I struggle with the hot press paper, because I leave all of my whites white and then I just go over the top of it. Can we just listen to you talk about your family? You can, Jackie, if you want. My family are mad. Oh dear. My eldest son he's just bought a new car. Well, he doesn't get it until October. And he's decided he's going to have some new tyres on it and some new, what do you call them, rim things. So I've been having to take all of these things over to Quick Fit for him, so that they can, because they've put some new tyres on his old car, some new budget tyres on his old car, and I don't know anyway. So I'm there at Quick Fit, not really knowing what I'm doing. And I was like, I've got some rims for you know, Frank Snowden, and he's like, oh yeah, and then he comes out and starts taking them out of the back of the car. He's like, oh my god, these are amazing, these are my favourite brand. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, gets his friend, and they're raving over these blooming new, I don't know what you call them, rims, whatever they are. Anyway. So yeah, so he's very excited about that. But anyway, so, and my daughter's made me tea again, so that's good. So she's made a really nice pasta sauce, although she says it tastes like plastic, but it doesn't. She reckons she's brought the wrong passata this time, but anyway, I think it tastes delicious. So yeah, I'm quite lucky actually. My daughter's very good to me. She makes all of my food. Right, so why do you put a base of indigo down then cover it with black? So if I just covered it with black, if I just went in with black, black is quite a dull colour on its own. So if you go in with indigo first, it gives it a deeper black. Now you can kind of, well, I can't really show you, but when I used to work in the printing industry, we did an awful lot of stuff, and you'll know it if you live in the UK. You'll know the First Direct branding is black. It's just black branding. If they just went with the colour black, it would look quite grey and dull. But if you put some blue under it, it really darkens the black. It makes it much more vibrant. So when you'll hear a lot of artists say, oh, don't use black, you know, make your blacks up with all those different colours, and they're absolutely correct not to use black on its own. Using it with another colour over the top gives you a really lovely vibrant dark black. And you'd use blues so I'm using blues on this because it's an eye, and blues just work really well, and that's kind of a formula that I've sort of worked out that it just works well for me. But you know, if you were doing black, say I don't know, you were drawing a black horse or a black dog, so a black dog, you know, black Labrador, and if it's in cool light, you'd put blue, you could put blues, purples, that sort of stuff underneath the black, which is going to make it more vibrant, more darker. If it was in a warm light, you put reds in underneath it, or you put like a burnt sienna underneath the black, and it just lifts the black, it makes it more vibrant. You get excited about pencils. Frankie won't get that. No, he doesn't. He doesn't get that. Bless him. He's pretty good, actually. You know, he'll come in and I'll go, oh, that's looking good, Mum. You know, and he'll be asking about everything. Maisie comes in and pretends to sort of run her hands all over my drawing. She's like, oh, Mum, look, and she'll do this all over my drawing. I'm like, get off! The naughty, very naughty children. So, and Sid just sits upstairs, swearing at his his computer. Bless him. Right, okay. Yeah, that's not looking so bad. I mean, we've still got quite a bit of work to do, but that's okay. I get very excited about pencils as well, I have to say. I do get very excited about that, and paper as well. I do get really excited about paper and amazing references. Oh, I've got some amazing references coming up, and I'd get very giddy about those. I'm doing something where I'm doing like a step-by-step thing for something that I'm doing a little bit later in the year, and I've decided to do it in a different format, because normally what I do is I just crack on and just start drawing, and then sort of work out the step-by-step later on, you know, and it's all a little bit sort of, it just works because I make it work. But this time I'm actually going to storyboard it beforehand. So I'm going to actually write the steps down before I actually draw it. So I'm going to have to look at my picture and go, right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to use this colour, and I'm going to lay it down like this. So, and then I can follow the storyboard and actually draw from the storyboard, which means that I can take photos at the right stages. So I'm going to test that out, but I'm quite excited about that, actually. I've even bought a stapler to staple all of my storyboard pieces of paper together. That's how sad I am. Hi, Cheryl. Do you have any of your own artwork up at home? I do, Deborah. I have got the tiger, the black and white tiger. I've got a print of my leopard, and I've got a print of my squirrel. And what else have I got? And then I've got lovely Judy's lions that I bought for my 50th, or my children bought for my 50th, which is that's up in my living room. And then I've got quite, I don't know whether anybody follows Katie Day, but I've got quite a few of her pieces which I love. I've got a beautiful one of the Dales, and I've got some trees which I absolutely adore. And then what else? Oh, and then I've got a piece that's just arrived from Australia, that arrived today, so it's still packaged up. And then I've got so much, you wouldn't believe how many things I've got at my framers that are waiting to be framed for me, that I've bought from other artists. I'm terrible at buying stuff. Oh, and I've got a couple of Christopher Durrants. I've got some original watercolours of bees, and I've got a lovely print of his. And then I've got a Shanna Lee Hartshorn. You must follow Shanna. She's doing you have to go and have a look at Shanna's work, because she's doing the most incredible, I think it's a commission, and it's sort of, she's got all of the background and everything in it, and it's a horse jumper. I think it's either Burley or Bramham or something like that. She's drawn that there's a Land Rover in it. She's drawn the Land Rover, she's drawn the grass. So I'm looking at it, and I think my comment on Instagram was, good Lord, that is incredible. I mean, her work is stunning, and I commissioned her to draw our cat a couple of years ago. That's in my daughter's room. So I tend to if I see art that I really love, I tend to buy it. Which is, and I've got an Amy Braswell original oil, and I've got a Kathy Choice print as well, and the prints at the framer's ready to be framed too. So can you do a tutorial on the kneadable erasers? So far I've made a monotonous look. Well, you're very lucky, Cheryl, because mine usually ends up looking more... Oh, actually, no, I think... Oh, mine's got a bit of hair on it. Mine looks a little bit like I don't know, it's a bit like a seal, isn't it? Mine usually ends up, and I'll be there doing it on a tutorial. I then come to edit it, and I'm like, oh my Lord. Mine usually ends up looking like something rude, I have to say. But yes, we should do a, who can make the best... Who can make the best animal out of a kneadable eraser? That's so funny. A slug, yeah, slug's pretty good. I have, Claire. I have been to the Pencil Museum. Oh, and I've got your otter, Carol, and that as well. Your otter as well is at the framers, still in their drawer. They're moving at the minute, and once they've moved, they've promised me that they're going to frame everything. Which is a bit worrying, because I think it's going to cost an awful lot of money. But yes, I've got your little otter there as well. I have, Claire, been to the museum, and it's quite small. It's like one room. It's worth going, and they've got the Derwent shop there as well. But what me and Vicky and Pearl did last July, we ended up having a VIP tour around the Derwent factory, which was, I think it was probably the best day of our lives, Vicky, wasn't it? Which just goes to show what exciting lives we've got. It was absolutely fantastic. We went, they did a tour around the factory, so we saw how all of the pencils were made. We saw every stage of the pencil making, sort of like how the wood cases, how they put the dies together, all of that type of stuff. We saw the room where they've got all of the chemicals and everything, and they do all of the testing and the sort of trialing out new colours and all of that type of stuff. And it just absolutely fantastic, it was. And we got to see the blue wool. He took this piece of blue wool. I mean, I was thinking, blue wool test and everything. He literally took this piece of blue wool out of a drawer and went, this is the blue wool, this is what we use to test the pencil. I was like, blimey, is that it? You still haven't told me where to send. Oh, I need to tell you that, Debs. Yes, will you send me a message? And yeah, because I definitely want one of those squirrels. So yeah, I think it's like a VIP thing. I don't know how often they do them, but it was absolutely incredible. It was just incredible. And then we went on to the Pencil Museum, which is really nice, but it's just a single room really. But it's good to kind of see, the history of the pencil and everything like that. It was good to see. But the tour around the factory was amazing. Yeah, just amazing. It was a really, really good day. We all had to wear high vis. And then when we went round kind of been round all of the processing, and then we went round where they kept all of the pencils stacked up, and there's just like boxes and boxes of your favourite light fast colour, and I was like, oh my god, and these studio pencils just hanging in racks. So we didn't steal any. We did get really excited about the floor and conveyor belts, I know. It was really good. It was really good. Right, so I'm just going to put a little bit more grey in this, the white of this eye here. We don't want it to be too white because it's just going to look a bit weird. And I'm going to put a little bit of grey into the edge of this eye here as well. I might just put a little bit more light here. The thing with eyes is, you know, you want to get that light correct, and when they've got a little bit of light coming around the edge there, it can be really quite tricky, you know, not to sort of make it look a bit sort of cartoony. I think that's not too bad actually. Have you started using the new projector? No, Cheryl. I'm using my I'm using the one that I always use. I must admit, I should start to use it a little bit more because it's amazing. Honestly, it's a really good. And if anybody fancies buying a projector, oh, who was it you, Cheryl, that said that you've set it up and you're watching Patreon on it, you're watching YouTube, you're watching your telly. It's got the most fantastic picture. And what's really nifty about it is that it's got a smart focus. So wherever you kind of point it at, it will just focus on the flat surface. So there's no sort of messing around with focusing and stuff. And that's one of the things that I struggle with a little bit. I'll set my projector up and I'll be like, right, nobody move, get the dogs out, because my floor will move, then the projector will move. But then I've got to go, oh, I've just got to tweak the little button on top of the projector to focus it. With this one, it just does an autofocus. It's really good, and it's a lot cheaper actually than the Artographs, which you can't get for love nor money anyway. Yeah, you can get £75 off until the end of November. I think they've done for us, which is amazing. It's a really fantastic piece of kit. And it's small and it's quiet. Sadly, I can't get the projection unless I have it shipped. They will ship, Susan. They will ship to Canada, but I know it can be a little bit pricey. I've been there for a VIP. Best thing. Oh yes, yeah, Caroline. It's so good, isn't it? Really good. So I've got the Artograph Inspire Claire. But they don't make that anymore. And then the one that I've been trialling is the Pico Genie M550 plus 2. And it's quite little, but you can project from sort of like as close to 6 inches away from your paper, and it's still focused. My Artograph won't do that. It's really flexible in what you can do. So you can attach it to your phone, you can attach it to your computer, all of that type of stuff. It is a really superb piece of kit, I have to say. It's really good. Yeah, I asked them to change it, Cheryl. It was the end of September, but because like I usually do, fanned about for so long doing, because I couldn't find any time to test it, and then I was like, right, I need to test it. Oh, and that was the funniest thing. Oh my god, that was the funniest thing. I had to email him in the end and say help. So basically this projector comes with a little remote control, and so I got everything out and I was like, right, this remote control, put the projector up on my sort of thing above my desk, and as soon as I switched it on, this lady started talking to me in an American accent, and she was like, take your remote control and press these 2 buttons and hold it close to the projector. And she kept on repeating it, and I was like, and I kept on doing it. I was holding down these buttons, and I'm like, it's not working, and I was shouting at this woman going, it's not working. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to shut this woman up, because I'm just gonna have to try and sort something out. So I couldn't turn the projector off. So I thought, right, I'll just unplug it at the mains. Unplugged it at the mains, and of course it's battery operated. So I've unplugged everything, and this woman is just keeping on saying, hold your remote control, press these 2 buttons, hold it close to and she would not shut up. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to shut up this woman. Anyway, it turns out I needed batteries in the remote control. So, yeah. So I went and found some batteries, and then it was plain sailing after that. It was fine. So the setup's really good because she actually talks you through exactly what you need to do. But it's yeah, it's a really, really nifty piece of kit. You know, if you're in the market for a projector, it's I would say it's better than the Artograph. It's really good, and you've got £75 off. I mean, it is quite expensive, but you know, and it will work in. Nope, you can work in daylight. You can work it works in daylight. You don't have to switch all of the lights off. So I've done that in the past. I've had like a little rubbishy £30 projector from Amazon, and I've kind of shut all of the curtains, turned all of the lights out, fallen over stuff, you know, broken my neck walking across there. So you don't have to do any of that. It all works in daylight. It's really, really cool. They've asked. I did a video for Patreon, which anybody who's watched it on Patreon you'll probably have laughed at me because it was so absolutely dreadful. And they asked me to send them it, and I said, I don't think you can use this as a promotional video because I've got my phone in one, or the camera in one hand, the projector in the other. I'm going, oh, look at this is good. So I said, I'll do you another one. So I've got to record a more professional quality video for them. But yeah, it's really, really good little piece of kit. Oh yes, I'm sure they will do, Whiskers. Will there be more of your coloured pencil pick packages, such as for your birthday in future? I didn't get a chance. Susan, I am working on a couple of things for around sort of Christmas time. So maybe not as big a bundle as the Christmas one. I think that kind of shocked us actually, how quickly they all went, because we had to order some more in. And fabulous Emma from the coloured pencil shop, she did all of the you know, the fulfilling and the sending and everything, and yeah, it was I think it was quite a task for her. But yes, we are thinking of doing a couple of different things for sort of like Christmassy time, which will be good. When you go to the site and request price as well. But also, if you do want one and you're not on my Patreon, let me know, because I've got a code that you can use and you can get the £75 off. Artist Resource. Oh, hi. Oh, thank you so much. Whereabouts are you, Artist Resource? What site was recommended for the projector? It's personalprojectors.co.uk. And like I say, if you fancy buying one, they've got all sorts on there, but if you fancy buying one of these ones, I've got a code that you can use. You know, so just get in touch and I'll send you the code. Well, I could put the code in here, but I don't know what it is. So in fact, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I don't know. Vicky, can you find it? Because you know what I'm like, I'll find the wrong thing and then I'll start playing something on my iPad. If anybody can find the code, you can pop it in the bottom there, and you get £75 off, which it's definitely worth it. I mean, it's expensive, but you know, it is such a good piece of kit, and you can also use it to you know, project telly on the screen or a film, or it's already got YouTube built in and Netflix and all of that type of stuff. You know, the apps on there, so it works really, really well. Right, okay, so I've put a little bit of blue in there as well. What I want to do now is I actually want to flip this over and add some colour in on the back. You put the code on your email. Oh, hi Leona. Oh, that's nice that you've joined us. Right, I'm going to flip this over. Let's make sure we've got it in the right place. Okay. So I'm going to flip this, and then what I want to do is I want to add in, if I can find it. Where's it gone? Black. I want to add my walnut brown into it. Is there? I want to add a little bit of walnut brown in this area here. So I just want to add into the white of the eye there, just to give it a little bit of colour. So I'm just going to add a little bit of walnut brown into that edge there on the back. Okay, now bearing in mind this is opaque, or well, it's semi-transparent, but you can kind of, you can see what's going on there, but you don't get that you know, it's not like it's completely see-through. So any colour that you put on the back is going to look quite subtle. And then I want to on this edge down here, I just want to bring a little bit of brown into here as well. So I'm just going to bring a little bit, and all this is going to do is it's just going to deepen the black on the other side, but it's just going to add a little tiny little bit of colour in there too. Okay, and then I want to go in with the black again. I'm kind of working not blind, but it's quite difficult when you're sort of trying to transpose one, working one way and then the other. It's probably better if you're doing this sort of thing to have an image that's flipped, you know, as well as the right way around, and then you can kind of work out where it needs to go. So I'm just going to bring in a little bit of black in there as well. That's the darkest area here. So I want to get some of the areas much darker than the others, so they're all still black, but you've got areas where it's even blacker. I'm just going to come down there a little bit. Now, one thing that I've got to be really careful about actually is so I don't want to put black over the entire eye, because I'm going to be coming through and I'm going to be putting little hairs on there, so I'm just got to be a little bit careful about that. So I think I'll probably just stick with the darkening it up around here. I might need to come and rub little bits out. And that's something that honestly, I'll be sitting there when I'm drawing something with film and I'll be rubbing it. I'm going, why isn't it rubbing out? And it's because it's on the other blooming side. You've got to kind of remember stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that down just a little bit, so we've got it a bit of a fade there, so it's not just a sharp, you know, load of black and then it just stops, because you will be able to see that step. Okay, and then I'm just going to come down here, add a little bit more black in there. Okay, so I'm going to switch this back over. Oops. Just going to give it a bit of a brush to sort of, so you can see now we're starting to get a little bit, it's starting to have a little bit more depth in the eye there, just because of we're using the back of it, and it doesn't show that hugely, but it just gives it a little bit, that little bit more depth. And I think we need to use the you can cut the drafting film with a blade, yes, absolutely, that's what I do. I've got a Stanley knife, or you can use a slice tool or something like that. I use a Stanley knife and I just sort of put a ruler on it and just slice it. You know, that works really well. Okay, and then I'm just going to use a little bit more of the blue just in here, just in that top bit, up in there as well. Okay, so that little eye's looking all right, and then I just need to bring that eyelid bit in there. You just gave me quite a shock. I had to leave for a minute and came back and thought I was working on the right side. I'm sorry. Thanks, Vicky. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Leona. That's really kind of you. When you turned it over, I was waiting for you to brush some dust out of the way. Then when you didn't, I realised it was dust on my computer screen. Oh God, my studio is so dusty. I mean, it is I think because I've got the dogs in here, it is so dusty. And I've started to now do sort of like a weekly clean, you know, where I get sort of like a wet cloth and you know, just wipe all of the dust off, and it's amazing how dusty it gets. You know, my drawing board, I cleaned it a couple of days ago, and even now, if I run my finger over it, I don't know whether you can see that, there's a load of dust on it, and it just gets everywhere, and I'm only using pencils, so you know, it does get really dusty. Right, so I'm going to do, now I'm loath to do too much more on this because I think I'm quite happy with how this is working. What I don't like is how I've got these lines up here where my pencil lines are, so I'm just going to do a little bit about that. I'm just going to kind of rub out that a little bit. The other thing that you'll find when working with drafting film, I think I said it before, I'm using this very, very gently in over the top of the Polychromos, and it does kind of blend it a little bit. If you're using something like Luminance and you try to rub it out, it tends to just come straight out. Polychromos tend to be a little bit better to erase if you don't want to erase the whole thing. So I've just kind of softened that there just by using the eraser to soften it. If that was Luminance, it would probably all come out. So that was something as well. I've done a video over on Patreon this week. Was it this week? I think it was Monday. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, about paper. I've just done a whole video. It's about an hour and a bit on paper and how different pencils work on different papers. And it was actually really, really interesting for me as well. I'm just going to use a little bit of the dark indigo in above this eye here. It was really, really interesting to see because I was kind of testing the slice on it and erasers and all of that type of stuff on a hot press paper. In fact, I'll show you when I've done a little bit more of this, because it's actually a really, really good tip. On a hot press paper, if you just put sort of like a single dark colour down, or just a single colour down, it's impossible to erase it, to use a slice on it. But if you put a layer of a wax pencil like a Luminance down first, say like a buff titanium or the new pink white, or something like that, and then you go in over the top with like a Polychromos or the dark pencil that you were wanting to put in, you can then use the slice straight away. You don't have to put multiple layers on. So that was a really, really good demonstration that I mean I hadn't intended to do that, but that's kind of what I ended up doing, and it was surprising actually how good it worked. So that's a really good tip for those wanting to use the slice tool on hot press paper. Works really well. Right, what we're going to do now, a little bit more black I think in here, just to create a little bit more of that creasy bit in there. Oh, and Naughty Vinny went walkabout this week as well. He went walkabout on Tuesday, little rascal. I think what happened was he was playing outside with Slipper, and he plays around with this football, and he sort of throws it around, and I don't know, he's such a weird dog. Anyway, and he'd thrown this ball, and it ended up on top of we've got this funny little sort of balcony thing on the back of the house. That's all sort of falling down. We're having it all replaced and stuff, but he'd thrown it up on there, and then he decided that he was going to go and try and find it. So he got through onto the balcony, and it's got all like not trellis work, but those balustrade bits of wood, and because my youngest son has been kicking his football against it, they've all sort of broken. Anyway, cut a long story short, he jumped out of the garden, didn't go into the field with all of the sheep, but went off into the village. Went walkabout in the village, and the gamekeeper brought him back. Thank God. Came back minus a collar, which he'd ripped off sort of like along the way, and looking very pleased with himself. So he'd had a little bit of a walk around, naughty boy. So he's not allowed in the garden now, unsupervised. So that bag he is. Oh, was it? Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say yes, it was very instructive, but yeah, I thought actually, listening back when I was doing the editing of it, I thought, oh yeah, this is okay actually. I know a lot of my, if you're not on Patreon and you're kind of not aware of sort of some of the other videos that I do, because I do tutorials and stuff like that, but some of the other videos I do as well, I've done one on pencils, so just pencils, and I've talked through all of the different pencils that I use and how you can use them mixed together and which are best for whatever. Yeah, they're not beautiful, slick, professional videos, but I try to give you an awful lot of information. I'm trying to be a little bit more professional with my videos, but it's kind of not really me. not a very professional person. Just me, really. So it's quite funny. Yeah, a dumb sight out thing. I think so. Oh dear. Yeah, so that's right. So this one has got a little tripod mount that comes with it. This particular projector. It's got a little tiny tripod mount. It's really good, but it's also got the little hole in the back. So you can actually attach it to a tripod, or I attach it to I've got an overhead rig, and that works really well. Right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm just take this cold grey 2 again, and I'm just going to bring in. So then we've got to get really brave and get some of these hairs and everything going in over the top of the eye. I might not bother. I might just leave it without the hairs in over the eye. I'm just going to bring some of this texture in around here now. But that's not a bad little eye for a Thursday night. It's quite a nice little eye. I want to get this finished. I want to do the whole piece. Because I think it's a really nice little photo actually, but it'd be quite nice to get it all finished, you know. But I don't want people to get really bored. So if you're getting bored, please do say, and we'll draw something else. So I'm just going to bring a little bit more up there, and then we can start to kind of build some of this furry bits up here. I think what I was saying was I'd kind of finish this off in my own time, but I keep on saying that and I never have any time. Although actually that's another exciting thing that we've had this week is I have sent off my advert for my first employee. So that is particularly exciting, very, very scary, but I'm recruiting a part-time marketing assistant person type thing, and have been absolutely inundated with applications. So yeah, so the fabulous Vicky is kind of sifting through them a little bit for me, and then yeah, hopefully I'll have somebody joining me, you know, on a part-time basis, which will be quite exciting actually, and it will really, really help free my time up to do the stuff that I'm actually pretty good at, because there's loads of stuff that I'm really rubbish at but I still have to do. So yeah, so I'm quite excited about that. Does anyone know of something other than a lousy printer? Mine that enlarges line art. Oh, I don't know, Cheryl. Oh, thank you so much, Leona. It's nice that you joined us. Thank you. Don't change a thing, Bonnie. We love you just the way you are. this weird little woman sitting in her grubby studio, wittering on about a load of rubbish. Yeah, I've got I'm doing a video for my new website, and I've got something in my head, you know, sort of like this, you know, amazing professional video, and I know that it's just going to be completely the opposite of that. You know, I've got a friend coming for the day to sort of like help. He's a sort of photographer and that sort of thing. He's going to help sort of set it all up, and I know that this video is going to end up with basically the dogs jumping all over me and just stuff, I don't know, going wrong, and but I guess that's kind of me really. Well, particularly the blooming dogs. Rat bags they are. Board lover. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. These alpaca curls are a bit similar to a dog I'm working on. Oh, that's good, Susan. Thank you for deleting that. Oh, oh dear. Oh, thanks, thanks, Vicky. Vicky does do, I have to say, Vicky does do an amazing job. I never ever get to see all of there's some funny people around, aren't there, that like to kind of put stuff on social media that I just don't get. Anyway, but yes, thank you so much, Vicky, for doing an amazing job. Odd people. Thank you, Susan. Oh, thanks, Lenore. Thank goodness. Well, and that's it really, you know, because I'm quite good at the drawing, and I'm quite good at coaching and helping other artists, and that's what I want to be really focusing on. And if I've got somebody who can kind of help me with all of the the admin side of stuff, you know, then I'm going to be able to do that, and that's what makes me really happy. It's funny, I think I put somewhere on Facebook today, somebody was asking about, I don't know, you know, how long I drew or how often I drew. And the thing with my drawing is it's a hobby as well as it's my work, but it's still a hobby. So any sort of spare time I get, that's what I want to be doing, because I absolutely love it so much, you know. And just because it's my work doesn't mean that I kind of stop loving it. You know, it never ever gets old. It never gets to a point where I'm like, oh God, I've got to do another drawing. You know, every single day, I know I sound like a right old blooming Pollyanna, don't I? But every single day I get up and I'm like, oh God, what am I drawing today? You know, and I just absolutely love it. I love it. And the days that I don't get to draw, I really feel it. You know, I need to draw. Drawing is something that I need to do every day. Oh, I think that went down the wrong way. I've got some pink lemonade and I think it's gone down the wrong part of my throat. It is difficult to dip in and out of the alpaca when you're doing so many other things. Do you sit and prep for it a bit before? No, I just go straight in. 5 minutes before I go live, I'm like, oh no, where's the alpaca? I have to go ruthlessly through a load of stuff. Because I've got to be careful I don't keep stuff on a table, because Vincent has a really, really bad habit of going and being nosing around, seeing what he can find. So I try to put kind of everything away safely, but my putting everything away safely, it's usually just kind of, you know, put on the side and it's underneath something or inside something, and I'll go, right, I'll put it in here to be safe. And then a week later, I can't remember where I've put it. So 5 minutes before, I'm like, oh no, where have I put the alpaca? So no, I just whip it out and get cracking. Yeah. So I'm not one for preparing stuff. It's overrated. So I would say that I was chatting to the lovely Evie today, because she's going to be helping with the website. And I was saying, oh, it's really easy, Evie. You just do this and you do this and you do this. And then I said, and there's like a load of help stuff here, documents that tells you how to do stuff. I said, you'll probably want to look at those. I said, I'd just dive in and just do it and get it all wrong and spend about a day doing it wrong. And then, but I never look at instructions. I'm rubbish. I'm just jump in, just get started. I'm a bit of an activist, I think. I did exactly the same with the handset. I nearly rang on about Cheryl. I did. And in fact, I was gonna message you. I was gonna message you and say, I don't know what's happening. And then I couldn't get the back of it off. And I'm like, no, it can't possibly have batteries, because I couldn't get the back of it off. So I emailed him and he was like, yeah, it's got batteries. I was like, oh God. That's so funny. Oh dear. I found that Jackson's blah 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 had a day off today and wanted to draw all day, so poor hubby got hurried this morning so he could get out and do the shopping early. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, I just want to be in my studio all day just drawing. That's all I want to do. And I tend to draw on a good day. I can start drawing about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's not such a good day, you know, if I've got too much admin and stuff like that to do and other bits and pieces, then it's usually around 7 o'clock that I'll start drawing. But the weekends, what I've started to do is I've stopped answering emails and messages and stuff as far as I can on a weekend, and I try to just draw, and that's been really, really helpful, I have to say. You know, it's not that I don't get sort of stressed or anything. I just don't get stressed about stuff. But I still really, really like to just draw every day. That's all I want to do, really. Right, so I'm just putting a little bit extra in there. But that's quite a nice little eye, actually. Vincent sounds like a mischievous little or big pickle. Deborah, he's an enormous blooming. I mean, he's growing even still, but he's just I can't tell you what a sweet boy he is. I mean, he just wants to give kisses all of the time, and he wants to be cuddled all of the time, and you know, he's just the loveliest boy. but he is like a little, you know, the little dogs that you see in a handbag. He's like a teacup dog, but in a gigantic, big, weird body, and he just doesn't realise that his body doesn't do stuff that he thinks it should. You know, he'll squash himself into tiny weeny little areas, and he looks so uncomfortable. But you know, he's an absolute darling. He really is, and he's so gentle with Nelly. You know, she'll be leaping all over him and tugging him and biting him, and you know, Slipper will turn around and give her a growl or a nip or whatever. But Vinny just kind of goes, oh, okay. He's the sweetest boy. Have you had to use the magnifying glasses you mentioned? I haven't actually, Cheryl. I haven't used the magnifying glasses for a while actually, because everything's been quite big. It's when things are really, really tiny that I struggle, so I end up trying to do things that are quite big. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that little eye. I don't know whether you want me to show you this hot press paper thing. Let me just get a piece out. Just get a piece of my super expensive light fast paper. I'll just put it over the top actually, and then I'll do it down here. I'll do it here. So what I was going to say was that, oh Patsy, £100, yeah, I can imagine. So when you're using the slice tool, so if I was using this one, this is the burnt sienna Polychromos, and if I just do, so if I was going to be doing something and I just put a light layer of the burnt sienna Polychromos in on the top there, and if I then wanted to use the slice tool, and I come in, you can see it does nothing, just doesn't do anything. You can hear it just doesn't do anything. But if you put, say, what's that, buff titanium in first, so we're coming in here, probably won't be able to see this, but the buff titanium is wax, the Luminance is a wax based pencil, so hopefully you can see that. So we put that in first, and then we go in over the top of that with the burnt sienna, and you can see actually how much nicer it is. And this is all about your layering, you know, this is all about really learning how your pencils work and how to layer them, and I guess kind of which ones to put down first. And you know, not that it really matters, but if you're planning on using something like a slice tool, this is the slice tool I'm using. This is the manual pen cutter, so this is the orange one, and you can manually put it up and down. If you go for the one, oh, hang on a second. That pink lemonade really did go around the wrong way. If you go for the one with the auto retracting one, it's got a green button, and then it won't stay up. And if you're anything like me, you're like, it won't stay up, and you're trying to kind of slice with your finger on it. All you need to do, if you get one of those, and you can send it back if you want, but if you don't want to, just wrap a piece of tape around it. I used to have one here that got tape around it, but I moved it. Just wrap a piece of tape around it, and the blade will stay up. So this is the manual pen cutter. So I've got the layer of the Luminance down first, and then I've got a layer of the burnt sienna over the top of that. And so this is the burnt sienna on its own, and then look at that. So hopefully you can see that. And it really, really does make a major, major difference. Let's put a little bit more here. And it just means, for me, when I'm using hot press paper now, I always put down a layer of something like a buff titanium, the new pink white, maybe a raw umber 10%, something like that. I always put those down first, because you get this much, much nicer, smoother lay down of pencil when you've got that layer of the wax pencil underneath. Yeah, so I've got buff titanium. I've got, what else have I got? I'll try with that one. I've got the pink white somewhere. Here's the pink white. So I've got the pink, this is the pink white here. Let's just move that up a little bit. So you need to have the wax really. So this is the pink white, which is, oh, this is such a good pencil. I love this pencil. So that's the pink white. And I'll put a little bit of that burnt sienna in over the top of that. Just makes a massive, massive difference. I need a sharper knife really, but you can see how well it works. And that one, you just don't get anything. And then if I put something like a raw umber 10% in, which is that little bit darker, I think this has to be currently my favourite colour. This is such a good colour. Not sure whether this one will work the same, but obviously going to get a slightly darker tint on there. And then the colour that you're going to get off. Nope, it still works really well. You've obviously got the burnt umber under there. But it just means that you can use the slice, you don't have to put layer and layer and layer and layer and layer. You know, whereas if you were going to just do it on the one, it just doesn't work on the one, you know, and you might want to just add in a little bit of something, or, you know, just put a little bit of, I don't know. So it works really, really well. Yeah, so that's the hot press paper thing, and it's, you know, it's good to sort of experiment. It's good to sort of have a bit of a play with things and work out how things work. Generally pencils tend to work. They all tend to work pretty well together, to be honest. You know, and it doesn't really matter what you know, what you put down first, but if you're going to be using the slice, then that's a really good tip. Colourless blender layer would maybe be used too, since it serves the same purpose. Wax does colourless blender. Oh, like the brush and pencil colourless blender, I wonder. Let's have a look. So that was Luminance that I used. Let's have a look if we use an oil-based one. So if I used an oil-based, say I use use white as well here. Let's have a look. Okay, so I've got the light fast flesh pink here. If I put down that as a layer, and then let's go with the. Oh, do you know, I have to put it down now? I can't find it now. Where is it? Oh well, I use the. I can't. Just put it down. I can't find it. I use the walnut brown. Put the walnut brown in over the top of that. It could be that it just needs a nice smooth light layer to begin with, and then it will work. So that was the light fast, and then doesn't work as well, I have to say. You can. There's still a bit of a difference, but it doesn't work as well. Let's have a look and see. This is the Museum Aquarelle as a white. Let's put that in over the top. This is just the walnut brown Polychromos. No, that works okay. That works okay. That works quite nicely actually. The Museum Aquarelle. I'd say that one probably works the best. I wonder if it's because it's white. Let's just have a look at not that one. Let's have a look at the Polychromos, but I don't expect the Polychromos to work because it has a bit of a resist, so when I come to actually put the Polychromos in over the top of it, it's probably not going to go on that nicely. It's okay, but it doesn't really lay down very nicely over the top of the Polychromos, because it does have a little bit of a resist on that. But let's have a. Yeah, that's all right as well. So it's probably the lightest colour is going to work. So I'd say the Museum and the Polychromos actually works really quite nicely, but I wouldn't personally use a white Polychromos as a base layer to then put layers over the top of, because it can really, really resist other colours. You know, I think it would, Deborah. I don't see why it wouldn't. I don't see why it wouldn't at all. It should do, because it's kind of, I guess it's that sort of, I don't think it's the paper, I think it's kind of having that lighter layer underneath that you can just then scrape the toppermost layer off, you know, and it will work on pastel matte as well. So it's, you know, it's pretty, and Prismas will work too really well. Right, I see what you mean. Oh, the colourless blender, right, okay, let's have a look at that then, look. So, oh, it's not a colourless blender, is it? Got a colourless blender here. Sorry, I apologise about that. Let's just move this up here a little bit. I'm going to ruin my alpaca. Let's just get that. So that would be really annoying people, won't it? All of that pencil dust on them. I'm like, I'll be shouting at the screen, get rid of that pencil dust. Right, so this is the Caran d'Ache colourless blender. So if I put that down first, and then put this in over the top. So basically what we want to do is we just want to take our paper, cover it in either a Luminance or the colourless blender or whatever, and then work over the top of that. Ooh, right, so the prize goes to Wicked Illusion Art. You think, because that works just brilliant. Look at that. Woohoo. Yeah, you get the spot prize tonight. You can have a sip of my pink lemonade. Yeah, that works brilliantly, doesn't it? Oh, very, very good. Oh, we need to be doing something with that, don't we? Yes, top prize on that. By Catherine. Yeah, no, that's really good. So if you buy the Luminance pencils, you get 2 of these in, and they are really, really good actually, these colourless blenders, and you can kind of sort of blend things together or squash tooth down and stuff like that. Yeah, well, there you go, brilliant. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, so there we go, marvellous. You learn something new every day. I'm going to be using more of that colourless blender. It's really good. It is really good, and I'll tell you what as well, this can be a lifesaver when you're working on pastel matte and you get to a grainy bit and you're like, I'm losing the will to live now because I can't get rid of this grain. And actually you can use one of these to kind of just squash it down a little bit. Yeah, it's you get them with the 76 set of the Luminance, and they sharpen. So I'll just put. Needs to go in a little bit more, but you just sharpen them up in a normal pencil sharpener. They're really great. They're really great. Oh, hi Arjit, that's nice. Sorry, I just missed this live. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing your skills. Oh, that's all right. That's okay. Yeah, so that's great. Thank you so much for that. Very excited about that. Anyway, so let's just head back to the alpaca a little bit before I get far too excited, and let's get rid of some of this pencil dust. Oops, not with that. On here. And then do we put some of those lines in there before we go? Let me see, where's my black again? Black's there. Let's just sharpen it a little bit. And then let's just take the slice tool. I'm not sure whether I dare put these little lines in over the top. One of the things that I have a real issue with is drawing whiskers and stuff like that. I have to really hype myself up. So I think we might just take this black and just kind of, I don't know, just sort of draw some of these. But it's kind of, I have a real problem doing it. I don't know why. I just get really scared about drawing whiskers and stuff like this. Hope you're all cheering me on. I don't know what's wrong with me. Honestly, I have to kind of visualise myself doing it and hype myself up, and I'm like, come on, Bonnie, you can do it. You can draw a whisker. I just have a real issue doing it. Right, okay, so that's okay. And then let's just bring in a couple. I'm just going to see what this... Yeah, that's going to be okay. Let's just bring a couple in over the top of the eye. So if we're going to come down over like that. Over like that. Okay, I think we can stick with that. That's okay. I can just come in and just sort of blacken up these little bits in there as well. But they should be okay actually. It just gives it a little bit more life, doesn't it? Yeah, Brave Pants, I know. I'm going to bring out a range of Bonnie's Brave Pants for artists all over the world to wear when they're drawing. Yeah. Right, okie dokie. Oh, so I'm quite pleased with that little eye. I think he looks okay. So we need to do the other one next week. Well, the other one is just literally just going to scribble it in, aren't we? Because it's just black, so that actually shouldn't take too long next week. And then I think we'll do the eye. Try and get this eye done quite quickly next week. And then I think we should tackle this little nose area here. I think that would be quite nice to do that. I'm quite looking forward to doing this little nosy bit. And what's nice about this is that it's quite velvety, so we've got a different sort of texture to get in here. You know, and we've got sort of like the little lip and everything like that. So brilliant. Oh well, thanks ever so much for joining me tonight, everybody. Have a lovely week. And as ever, you know, well, not as ever because I never say it anyway, but you know, do subscribe to my YouTube if you want to see more sort of tutorials and you want to hear more of me waffling on and going on about rubbish stuff, and actually if you want to hear more about my dogs and kind of join me in the studio with them, you know, you're very welcome to join my Patreon, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you all so much. See you later. Bye.